Dick joke. This is the D train, one of my least favorite lines in this system. The D starts at 78th Street with a B, meeting the E and K at 57th Street with a D going local on 5th Avenue. It leaves the B at Herald Square and enters West Patah for one stop at Intervale Square, its last stop. The most common train you'll see on the D is the R68, and the most iconic is arguably the PST3. Since this is a new thing, the B is the R160B, the K is the R38. Now, the reason I call the D my least favorite is because it fucks with the K, especially between 57th Street and 47th Street, since the switching for getting on the right line kinda takes a while. And the D itself is kinda redundant. It's just the K but the Waterside Boulevard, which is beyond boring. Now don't get me wrong, Waterside is an interesting line, but sometimes it just gets bland as fuck. Especially when there's like more D trains coming along than the B. And I don't want to talk about bad stuff so much, so let's just get on with the history trip. This history trip is mainly going to be focusing on the development history, out of canon stuff, because the lore for the D is super uninteresting, and can be said for most of PID. The D was the second original line in the history of PTA, with the E. The 4 and 5 were the first. It ran its usual trip by ending at Herald Square since West Patah wasn't really a thing back then, and 57th Street since Waterside wasn't a thing back then. Waterside would eventually be added later on. Its ancestor was the F. On the first concept map, the F went local and split it to the east near the river. Sometime later, East 72nd Street was added in, and eventually, D, E, and K trains were extended to West Patah, the D terminating at Intervale Square and the EK at Helston Terminal. On June 7th, 2021, a major change for the D was given, the Bayview lines, where it would run along with the F and V on 5th Avenue and continue past Intervale Square south and split from the F and V to the oldest ancestor to the Cologon line towards Richards Island. However, this plan never came to light, and the only major change the D will have will be the addition of the B running with it. Now, the only notable crash that the D would have is when it collided directly into the side of a B train before Herald Square on April 4th of 1935. The D's driver and 2 others died. Notice how packed the death history is compared to the lore? Like I said, the D is just boring, but I can't help but respect it for being literally one of the first lines in PTA, but that's all I can respect it for. The road's boring, the rolling stock's boring, it fucks up with the K, I just don't like it. However, it might get a bit more interesting since there's provisions for an extension past 78th Street, but now, the trivia. The D's NTT announcements were also done by Blocks Russell. The D's also has announcements that goes via Cologon, and the music for the D is Get Edgy from Sonic Rush. Even the trivia is short as hell. Fucking hell, this line's so boring. So, anyway, I'll just give the D a 5.6 out of 10. I just don't like it. The only redeeming part of it is the cheesy dick jokes made by Rarts. But this is Abby from Multi Topic. You guys have a great night. Have a great spring, and thank you for watching.